What's going on, FUD Nation, and welcome back. Today we have a pretty cool episode for you as we talk about none other than the leader of the free world, Donald Trump, tweeting about Bitcoin, a bunch of other sort of mainstream popular news about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. It feels like Bitcoin is slipping back into that mainstream sort of topic that it was all of 2 years ago. And we're going to be talking about some altcoins again at the end, as well as some big position changes that I've made in my own portfolio that I think are relevant. So we're going to get to all that and more. My name's Elliot and this is FUD TV. If you're enjoying this video, throw me a like. It really helps the channel. Anyways, let's get to the news. Let's get right into it. The biggest topic of the day, Donald Trump taking to Twitter to ravish and despair the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency industry. Of course, what I think about this, we'll talk about it right after this. As I think many other people out there understand, this is quite bullish, but let's just read the tweets as they are written. No, I will not be doing a Donald Trump impression. And no, I do not like to talk about politics on this show, but in this particular case, it is a Bitcoin and cryptocurrency channel, and this is highly relevant. I am not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. Similarly, Facebook's Libra virtual currency will have little standing or dependability. If Facebook and other companies want to become a bank, they must seek a new banking charter and become subject to all banking regulations, just like other banks, both national and international. We have only one real currency in the USA, and it's stronger than ever, both dependable and reliable. It's by far the most dominant currency anywhere in the world, and it will always stay that way. It's called the US dollar. Drug trade and other illegal activity. What does that remind me of? Bryan Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, reacted by saying, "Achievement unlocked. I dreamt about a sitting US president needing to respond to growing cryptocurrency usage years ago. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. We just made it to step 3, y'all." And I couldn't agree more with Bryan Armstrong's summary of what's going on here, which is that by the time a sitting US president feels the need to lash out and really fight against the cryptocurrency movement, the Bitcoin movement, I certainly can't remember any moment like this in the past. That's a huge victory for Bitcoin, which was, as far as I could tell, considered dead by the mainstream for all of 2 years since the last bull run. And now, of course, it's so alive that the sitting US president feels the need to disparage it and tell everyone that it's not real money. We know actually from Donald Trump himself that negative press doesn't necessarily hurt a topic or a person or an entity, and in this case, creating debate about whether Bitcoin is good or not at the presidential level, at the national level, is absolutely phenomenal for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a movement. It's going to create all sorts of conversations across the country in circles that might not really be exposed to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin understanding, media, any of the things that we might consider par for the course. We're seeing this probably going to open a lot of eyes to this whole discussion. And at the very least, this could just be that first moment where people really hear about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. If they haven't heard about it before through other channels, this might be their entry point to the topic. And as soon as you get introduced to the topic, we all know how it can be quite a little bit of a rabbit hole that you go down, becoming maybe even obsessed with and fall in love with that cryptocurrency. That's what we really want for people, is just to become exposed to it. This is really just the beginning, and it's a mark of how powerful and how important this new bull run and this new bull cycle really is. I know you were wondering, so let's just look at the charts and see how this really affected the price. Bitcoin was taking a little bit of a tumble. Obviously, guys, I'm not going to get too deep into the technicals here. That's not what this channel is about. There's some amazing technical analysis channels. I suggest you check out Eric Crown of Crown's Crypto Cave if you have not already, but in case you don't have the time, I'm going to summarize some of the basics that I've been taking away from the most trusted TA channels in the space. Essentially, Bitcoin is forming this little triangle here, coming off its highs. Here on the 2-hour chart, every time Bitcoin in this modern bull run has dipped under the 200 simple, it's gotten reaccumulated between the 377 and the 200 simple. And you can just see a few different areas here where every time we come off of that accumulation zone, there's just been some big moves here, starting back here in really March, where we got to move up to, almost the 6,000 or the mid 5,000s. we got accumulated again, and then it moved up here into the mid 8,000s. This was the big one. It got accumulated here in the sort of $7,000 region, and then we made a big move up to 14,000, a 2x just off that accumulation zone, and it looks like we're doing something similar here. It seems like Trump tweeted right here, and we've had a little bump upwards from there. So I guess thank you, President. We've gotten a little bump back into the safe zone on this Bitcoin chart, and every time we sort of cross above this moving average, good things happen. So hopefully the same is true, and maybe we'll have Donald Trump to thank for the next big move in Bitcoin. Of course, he also sent some mixed signals, as you can see here in the back of Jerome Powell's press conference. Donald Trump is clearly holding up a sign that says, "Buy Bitcoin." Again, as Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies just seeps its way into the mainstream, we're getting more sort of celebrities. I consider Mark Cuban, as much as he's a big entrepreneur, he's also a big celebrity, now talking about cryptocurrency. He's calling Facebook's Libra project a big mistake. Now, his logic is something I'm not sure I actually support. He says, I'm not a big fan of what they're doing. I think it's a big mistake. There's going to be some despot in some African country that gets really upset that they can't control their currency anymore, and that's when real problems start occurring. I don't really know what to say. Obviously, Mark Cuban at one point called Bitcoin a bubble and then told everyone to invest into it. I think he doesn't really have a consistent stance on cryptocurrencies. But again, to me, just even talking about these projects, keeping the conversation alive and in the mainstream of discussion is very important, because there will always be that split in the crowd of people who disagree and people who agree with whatever you're saying. And so just keeping the conversation lively is very integral, in my opinion, to the next stage of mainstream adoption. So this is just another piece of what I think of definitely important news, but at the same time, I think it's confusing what Mark Cuban is saying over time if you look at his track record. Regardless, I think Libra is going to encounter quite a few regulatory hurdles and quite a few hurdles in general, which is maybe the catalyst, maybe this Facebook Libra project is really the catalyst for people like Donald Trump talking about it. And it's really brought cryptocurrencies into the mainstream in a way that hasn't been introduced until a company like Facebook put its stamp on a crypto. So this is a whole nother level of exposure, a whole nother level of public discourse that I think is going to work extremely favorably for the cryptocurrency community in the long run. So I think this is big news and big stuff. I don't know if any of you are a big fan of Andreas Antonopoulos, but I certainly am. He had a big, long-winded rant about why Libra currency is on the whole a surveillance coin. I thought this was very interesting, so I'll read it to you. More than anything else, this is a surveillance coin. It is the worst kind of surveillance coin, connected to the worst kind of surveillance company that's exercising the worst kind of surveillance capitalism. You want to play in that? I would never. I don't have Facebook applications. I don't have an account. It's not on my phone. I would never touch that stuff. You want to go there? Great. Remember that every time you make an easy transaction and you hear that little ding ding sound of that, remember that's the sound of democracy dying. That's the sound of independence dying. That's the sound of personal privacy dying, and you just made someone rich while killing all the things that matter in free societies. So some lighthearted stuff there from Andreas Antonopoulos. Like I said, the Facebook cryptocurrency is going to make a lot of the core decentralization and Bitcoin advocates very, very upset and angry. I said that in my initial breakdown on Libra in my a video that I put out a couple weeks ago. And even though it's going to very, very much so ruffle the feathers of the crypto idealists, the crypto anarchists, if you will, like Andreas Antonopoulos, the truth is, I believe it's going to embolden and bolster the Bitcoin economy by exposing billions of new people to cryptocurrency wallets, cryptocurrency infrastructure. And in my opinion, I believe that it's pretty clear they're going to be putting Bitcoin into that crypto wallet and making it pretty easy to send Bitcoin as well. So while Facebook Libra coin, I'm not defending that, I believe the project will, in the long term, help accelerate Bitcoin towards some of its goals. So feel free to fight me in the comments. I'm just sort of expressing how I think this whole thing's going to shake out from a product usage standpoint. Let me know what you guys think about Andreas Antonopoulos' rant in the comment section below. We also got word that the US Senate has approved a Blockchain Promotion Act. Quite simply, the bill moves the US closer to a blockchain definition at the federal level and establishes a blockchain working group within the Department of Commerce. The report also recommended research should be conducted on DLT and the impact on electromagnetic spectrum policy and other potential applications, and specifically possible uses by the federal agencies. So again, we're seeing distributed ledgers blockchain being discussed at the federal governmental level. And this was what was happening in the bull run of 2017. Then, for all intents and purposes, Bitcoin and crypto died, another one of its deaths, and people just didn't have to worry about it for a while. But now the topic is very much so hot again, as the government is trying to figure out how to deal with this new bull run, which is going to bring with it, whole new surges of attention, audiences, and exposure into the mainstream, as it has done each and every bull cycle. In what I would argue is very, very solid news from Binance, we have CZ essentially announcing that the Binance team will be burning their own BNB tokens. At the beginning of the Binance project, the team was allocated 40% of BNB tokens, which is 80 million BNB, currently worth $2.4 billion. They are trying to reach a total supply of BNB that would be 100 million BNB. And the current total supply of BNB is 189 million. So essentially they have 89 million BNB that they still need to burn to reach that goal. Instead of burning just normal BNB tokens that are, created or consumed by the Binance exchange, they're saying the team itself will burn off the 80 billion BNB that they have been allocated first. And then the last 9 million for reaching that goal of 100 million BNB will be burned off by the exchange. Essentially, this is showing their commitment to, sort of more decentralized economies, more of a decentralized environment, and that they're not as money driven as CZ is saying, but they're here on a mission. Let's work together to increase the freedom of money. I think this is a huge move by Binance, and I wanted to highlight this one stat that says essentially they raised $15 million in the equivalent of BNB 2 years ago. And that $15 million of BNB is now worth $4.2 billion. That is an insane ROI for anyone who was in that BNB ICO. Good for you. I certainly was not one of those participants, but this is an amazing, amazing feat that they've been able to turn that small amount of an ICO raise into an absolute financial behemoth on a global scale. I know people don't always agree with Binance. I know that they've become kind of a whipping boy or a target of arguments of centralization and manipulation in the crypto industry. But I think moves like this do show that they have a commitment to evolving the industry, and that they are hopefully, when we look back on the history of crypto and Bitcoin, going to be considered one of the good guys. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this whole Binance burning their own BNB tokens. Do you think it makes Binance the good guys, I guess, in more of a sense? Or do you think that there is no way that Binance can ever become a hero of crypto, that they've just done too much and been too manipulative to ever be considered the good guys? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm always curious what you think, but I think this is a pretty strong move from CZ and Co. I also saw this post on Reddit. It says imminent death of the IEOs. They talk about how projects get screwed over because of the tokenomics that they're forced to comply with and locking funds into the exchange. The investors get screwed because they have to lock up tons of tokens for the IEO platform. Speaking of which, one of those, the first and foremost probably is Binance. So, this is an interesting article. I sort of thought that the IEO model, the IEO method was just sort of becoming more popular. What do you guys think? Do you think IEOs are going to be around in a while? I think IEOs are certainly the evolution of the ICO, and that this is definitely the most profitable way to launch your token into the mainstream. It's right there. It's trading live on one of the most sort of, active places you could ever launch a token. But then again, the IEOs are definitely very hit and miss, and it is not favorable to the investors and the projects. It's most favorable to the actual exchange. So, can a model like this succeed? Can a model like this persist? Are new tokens and new exchange offerings, new offerings in general, something that the market will benefit from? Let me know what you guys think about IEOs in general in the comment section below. I personally have never participated in an IEO, despite the alluring gains that I've heard others make. Let me know what you guys think. I'm very curious what FUD Nation thinks about the IEO craze and whether this whole thing will persist. Certainly been a reason that I think alt season has not necessarily taken into full effect. Also, Bitcoin margin trading and the proliferation of that Bitcoin margin trading economy has really been another reason. Well, that's it for me. A little Friday news episode here on FUD TV. Again, I have a lot more exciting videos I'm going to be making soon. I'm going to be actually walking you through some huge changes I've made to my portfolio in the next coming days. I made them sort of about a week ago as I saw some critical levels being reached both in the Bitcoin chart and in the altcoin charts. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some changes I made. I definitely exited several altcoin positions that I had been in for a very long time, and I want to share those with you. Also, I want to be talking about the future and my strategy going forward in what I feel like is a slightly different, slightly more mature market than we were used to over the past few months to years. So I'm going to be having a really fresh approach to my strategy for investing in this market. Again, wishing you well on this Friday. If you enjoyed this video, please throw me a like, throw me a comment in the comment section below, and let me know what you thought. If you're not already subscribed to FUD TV, I encourage you to hit that sub button. As usual, I'm Elio Trades. You're watching FUD TV, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.